we'll go ahead and get started. I'm Stephen Haynsworth, and I'm the Director of Servant Heart Disaster Relief, which is a 501c3 organization that we started last year. Bill Anderson's our treasurer, so he's in the house, and we appreciate that. I'm also the coordinator for disaster relief for the Diocese of South Carolina. So the new Anglican Diocese of South Carolina. I called up the bishop last year and said, we've got a hurricane that just came through. Hurricane Florence had just come through. I said, I've got 30 years of experience in emergency response. How can I help you? He said, can I make you the director of disaster relief? Instantly. And so I was then the coordinator of disaster relief. So then I did some responses, and we'll go through some of that. Let's see. And what we want to do now is talk a little bit about your church. I want to try to help. Each church should have an emergency response plan. So if a disaster happens, they happen all the time, and so we all need to be prepared. We need available training. We don't want to just have a whole bunch of people not knowing what they're doing and get people hurt. So how can we figure out how can the church serve the community? After disaster, the church should be a center point where people can come to and get supplies and help. And so that's what we want to do. We want to reach out to the community. We want to spread the gospel, and we want to love our neighbors. And so this is a way of doing it. And then we'll talk a little bit about some of the responses we have done in the last couple of years. So that's what we're going to cover today. These are some of the disasters that I've been involved with. Well, this is what has happened in South Carolina. 2016, we had 16 inches of rain. Conway flooded. In 2017, we had Hurricane Matthew and Irma come through. And then last year, we had Hurricane Florence come through. This year we had Dorian come through, and so every year we seem to have a hurricane. It's going to hit somewhere, and how can we help each other? So we need to be prepared. We're kind of concentrating on hurricanes. After we get more established, we get teams. We've got tornadoes, we've got chemical spills, we've got assaults, a church attack or something, a shooting. We've got to be ready for that. So we'll build a plan together and then share it with people, and people can use that. So that's the direction that I'm going. That's my experience. I'm used to creating disaster plans, training people, and being ready to respond. So how can you be prepared? What's the available training out there? I want to be a training service for the Diocese of South Carolina and also the Anglican Church in North America. So I'm willing to try to help you. I can guide you. I'll put some resources together, and y'all can welcome to steal them, take them, use them. That's what we want to do. We want to create some basic material and just share it with people. CERT, how many people know what CERT is? Citizens Emergency Response Team. It started in California. They had a big earthquake. Everybody needed help. They called it 911. They said, well, we can't get there. Help yourself. You got to help each other. So they said, well, we got to create teams and teach the citizens how they can respond to themselves. So we have that established in Charleston, South Carolina. We've got probably 1,000 people in the Tri-County area trained in CERT. And so if we had an emergency, they could respond and take care of themselves first, and then their neighbors, because you can't get the fire department there. The EMS can't get there because there are trees down or whatever. So that's what CERT is. Charleston County website, they have a wonderful program. Go in there and you can do an application, and it's free training. It's 7 weeks, 3 hours a night on Thursday nights, and it's really good information. They teach you all about disasters. So they give you some good basic training. The local fire department, have you ever thought of them? They can teach you how to firefight. They can also teach you CPR and some basic medical stuff. So we partner. I've got a CERT team, and so then we go to the fire department and we tell them, we're here to help you. So when something happens and you need help, call us and we can respond and help you. I've responded 6 or 7 times where the fire department is, I'm coming down the road and there's a tree in the road, so then I'll stop and, I can direct traffic or I can do something, and then the fire department can do whatever they need to do. I've also showed up with my chainsaw and helped them clear the roads and stuff like that. So the local fire department's a very good resource to have. You get a badge from CERT, and then if there's a hurricane and you leave and you're trying to get back in and they won't let you in, if you show them your CERT badge, they'll let you in that area. So places in Charleston, we had a tornado on Johns Island, and one of our communities, we had a good many church members that had trees down and all. So the church got together. We said, hey, let's all go over there. So we showed up over there and we showed them our CERT badge, and we had a sticker on the car, and we all got in there and it was all fine. The pastor, he wanted to come over with pizzas a little bit later. They wouldn't let him in. You can't come in.
Lots of free pizza.
He went with pizza. He couldn't get in. It's like, goodness gracious. FEMA, CERT will send you to FEMA, and they have some good training also. So that's available training. So remember this, because where do you get your training from? There's a lot of different resources. South Carolina Emergency Management Division, they have a website. Southern Baptist Convention, they do disaster relief 3 times a year in South Carolina. They put on a workshop. They'll have 200 or 300 people show up, and they teach you how to safely run a chainsaw. They'll teach you how to mud out. They'll teach you how to rebuild stuff. They were talking about houses. They'd gone in to fix somebody's house, and they were sheetrocking it, and then they couldn't find the cat. Come to find out, the cat got in the wall. They sheetrocked the cat in the wall. So they had to cut the wall to get the cat out the wall. Some of the stories that we hear. So these are the actual training, October 12th in Spring Valley Baptist Church in Columbia, South Carolina. They got an all-day thing. And then March 14th, 2020 in Somerville, we have one. So
can we get a copy of this if we send you an email?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
it's on the app, okay.
Yeah.
But I don't have the app yet, so I might.
But I'll get a piece of paper and you can sign, put your name down, and I'll get you this information, because you need to have this, all the resources. I've got all the resources there for you. So I was trying to figure out, we went to Conway, and we were hoping to have teams come up for the whole week and just have, each church would set up a group for a week and we could just work up there and all. But we got a very slow response. We'd have people on the weekend. Every Saturday we had 20 to 50 people show up at Conway to help for two months, which was great. But it wasn't what I was...
Nobody there in the middle of the week.
Yeah, nobody was there during the middle of the week, and we didn't get enough help. So I'm thinking, okay, well, let's form an emergency disaster team at each church. We'll train some people, and then when we have a disaster, more people would be willing to come. So we've got to train them before they'll come. So that's what we're trying to do. An emergency disaster team for each church. We'll help you. The Servant's Heart guidelines, we'll put some of that stuff together. We'll help you with some of the training. And then the other thing is, I want you to cover it with the prayer team. If you have a prayer team in your church, get them to pray for the disaster response team. Everything needs to be based with prayer at the very base of it. Without it, we're in trouble, because the devil will attack us. And so we strongly believe in prayer at Servant's Heart. We have a team praying for us and covering us with prayer as we go out. Before a hurricane, we want to have an emergency plan. We should have a list of all our church members. We should call volunteers, and then the vulnerable members. We left our church. We had a hurricane coming. We all took off. Come to find out, one of the widows did not have a way out. So she ended up staying home and by herself. And luckily, nothing happened to her. But we've got to remember those people. We've got to be able to look out for our members. So help the needy evacuate. Order some emergency supplies, maybe water, food, tarps, gloves. if you have any fuel tanks at the church, go ahead and fill them up, because after the storm, we want to make that church a emergency center so that it can help the community. So we need to have a plan together. What do we need to order? So we want that. After the hurricane, we should call all the members, find out, what needs, what families have needs, so we can respond to those. And then ask them, how about your neighbors? Because we want to reach out for more than just the church members. We got to take care of ourselves first. We want to make sure our members are taken care of. We want to make sure the church is okay, and then we want to reach out to the neighbors. But we also want to remember, okay, there's a low community down over here. Let's go check and make sure they're okay. We may not have any members, but we need to go check on them, because they're our brothers and sisters, and we need to do that. So you have a hierarchy. You always take care of yourself first. Once your family's okay, then you reach out to your neighbors, and then once your neighbors are okay, then let's go and look around the community and see who else needs help, and let's reach out for them. Set up your church as a community center. Distribute food, water, care packages, work with the local government, provide spaces for the insurance agencies or adjusters, maybe the FEMA representatives. Have people be able to use your church as a community center. And what you want to do is have people know, okay, if that church, there's something special about those guys. They'll help you. They love you. They're reaching out to the community. So that's what we're trying to do by doing that. Care packages in Conway, we took a bunch of care packages up there, and I went up there and was having lunch with Jason, the priest there. He said, I got all these care packages, what do I do with them? It was Saturday night. I said, tomorrow morning at church, tell everybody to take 2 care packages home to their neighbors.
That's what they do.
So they went and gave it to their neighbors, and they distributed those care packages. Inside that care package was a card that said, "Welcome to St. James, St. Paul's, Conway," and it also had an explanation saying, God did not cause this hurricane. He allowed it. Yes, He did allow it, but He doesn't. He doesn't. We don't think He causes this disaster. So there was some scriptural stuff there to support. Why do bad things happen to good people? Whoops. We want to share God's love with those in need. We want to offer to pray with them, share the gospel, invite them to church. When I was up in Conway, I was, always going to the homeowner and praying with them. I'd always pray with them and ask them things, share the gospel with them, encourage them. So there's that outreach there. You want to evangelize.
That made a huge difference.
It did?
That made a huge difference.
So you got more members?
It's just amazing. Oh, you go to that church?
Yeah. So that's what you want to do, is you want to reach out and love the neighborhoods, and then they'll start coming to church. Here's
That's what we want to do.
Yeah, that's what we want to do.
love them.
Very good. I didn't know that part of the story, but I'm glad to hear that, because we knew, you do something nice and people will know that. Here's some of the other responses that we did. We took a chainsaw group to All Saints Anglican Church in Newport, North Carolina, and there were 3 of us. Kent was one of us, myself, and then one other. We went up there, and they were disillusioned. It was like 2 or 3 weeks after the hurricane had come through. There was trees down everywhere. They were just confused. They were tired. They didn't know what to do. We showed up the first day. We worked with one lady that was willing to take us around, and she was going to coordinate us. So we cleaned up this old lady's house and got the trees off her house. And the next day we went to a bunch of houses, and as we went, we were trying to pull members in, so we kept getting more and more members from the church, and they started coming out and helping us. And like the pastor came out with he had a little chainsaw. He was out there cutting for 2 hours, and then we never saw him. And later on he said, I was so sore from running that chainsaw. we ran this big chainsaw for 8 hours, and he had this little one for 2 hours. He needed to get in shape. But we rallied that church, and for 2 days we ended up cleaning up basically 15 homes, and some of them were little things. I was at one house, and this man said, every time I walk out of this house, there's that dead limb right there, but you can trim it. It was a little branch. So we cut that little branch off, and then, that mentality, he was just depressed because of that one little branch. I had another lady said, that little branch on that hedge right there, can you reach it? So I leaned over and got that little, the little things were discouraging them. And we just came in and encouraged them. We helped each other. And then we got the community involved. We got the church members involved. They had a great time working with each other. And we just energized that whole community. Sunday we went to church with them. And they were just overjoyed with just the three of us. 3 of us went in there and just completely changed the mentality of that church from that storm. Here's a couple of the trees down that we had. We cut up some big trees and stuff. And then you can see it kept getting more and more people showing up to help us cut trees down. There's Kent. He's up on the house, cutting some limbs off the house. This one we found out there was an old lady there. She was a widow. She was living there by herself. We went into the house. It was a trailer. The thing was a dump. It was about to fall down. The church member said, "We've got to do something." So they went back to the church and said, "Let's see if we can buy her a new trailer or something." So we discovered something about the community. Nobody had been to her house in a couple of years. It was overgrown, filthy. It was rotted. So they found out, okay, we need to do something, and they reached out to that lady. I hope they bought her a new trailer. I don't know. Then we got famous Conway. 4 weeks after that storm came through, the water was still rising. They kept, I had people telling me, "Let's go to Conway, let's go to Conway." I said, "I can't go. We got to wait till the water goes down." About 4 weeks later, we were able to get into Conway. 1,000 homes got flooded. And the thing we learned about Conway is the city, this was the third time happening in 3 years. They knew exactly which houses were going to get flooded. And they put signs on the houses. Your house is going to flood. Get everything out of it. So 2 days before the water rose, there were trailers everywhere. They got all their personal stuff, their clothes, their furniture, anything they could drag out of the house, they got out of there. And then the house flooded. And so then we wanted to go in and say, okay, we'll cut the sheetrock, we'll get all the stuff out of the inside, and we'll try to help them. Most of those houses FEMA has bought, and they're going to just tear them down because it's going to flood again. I mean, this is the third time it happened. So you need to think of something else. You need to live somewhere else. But we need to figure out. Jason Collins and their youth minister Sean, they said, "Look, we can't. This has happened a couple of times. We can't just not do anything this year. Let's do something." And so they said, "You bring the people up here. We'll feed them. We've got supplies. We'll coordinate it." They did a wonderful job helping us to. We ended up gutting 5 houses, gave out several hundred care packages that contained food, water, cleaning supplies, an invitation to St. Paul's. I got that wrong. I need to update that.
Tell them.
Yeah. Don't get me in trouble. And then here we are at the church. We would show up at 9 o'clock. We would all get together. We would pray together. And then we would go out. They would take us to the sites. You can see all the stuff that we pulled out. We just got into the houses. That house there took us, oh man, that house it would never blow away from a hurricane. But it had wood paneling. It had wood floors. It was really tough to get out. You can see it gutted there. The floor's been taken up. All the sheetrock's been taken out. All the counters. It was quite a job. And then we went in and fumigated. You can see this one. It didn't come up as high, so you could go 4 foot. So then you come back later and just put 4 foot sheets of sheetrock. So it depends how high it comes up. You've got the electrical, you got to check the electrical. If it gets wet and it's a certain type of electrical wire, you got to pull it out and replace it. So that's some of the things that had to happen. And then about 6 months later, we went up there and actually finished the sheetrock in one house. So we finished the sheetrock. The electrical had already been upgraded. The HVAC was new. They had new appliances, hoping to move back in the next month. So this was a house that we were finishing up. After that, you got to come in and put sheetrock. It had a concrete ceiling. Putting that ceiling in was a mess, because you'd put a sheetrock screw up and you'd hit that concrete and you'd wait a while till it dug through there. Some of these houses were 50 years old and they made them a little more solid than they do today. So, how can we help you? Servant's Heart. Pray for Servant's Heart. Ask for, pray for our protection, our vision. We've got a vision to go out there and try to help the community and try to help churches. We want to establish emergency responses in the churches, but we also want to come, when there's a disaster. Join the team and become experienced in emergency response. We've got a $25,000 matching fund from ACNA, the Matthews 25. So we need to raise $25,000 this year, so then we get the matching funds of $25,000. So if you can help, go to your church, ask them if they can donate some. You can donate to Servant's Heart Disaster Relief, care of St. John's. That's the address. Send us the money, and we can double it. So that would be appreciated. And that's my information right there. So, any questions? Let's go to questions and answers. Yes.
Yeah, so you said you were in emergency response. And
Yes.
What was your history?
I worked for a big company, Robert Bosch, and so we wrote the emergency plan for that. We had spills, we had pipes break, chemical spills, fires. We had we have a plan for shooters and stuff like that. So some of those, we had a couple of bomb scares where we had to evacuate the plant. So I did that for 25 years. So I have a good background on emergency response.
You talked about training. Is your training limited just to this area? I'm not from here, I'm from Texas.
When we get going, we might be able to reach out. We'd like to reach out for the whole community in the Anglican Church. So we let us try to work. We'll work locally, and then what we'll do is expand out. So we do hope to get to Texas and reach out and cover the whole U.S. We're supposed to cover the Caribbean too, but
FEMA training is free for you. You can go online for FEMA training. It's
There's online FEMA training.
There's a lot of training out there. Try to use that first, and then look at our website and look at the things that we recommend you do, and try to work through that. So.
And the other thing I'll mention is the Baptist Southern Baptist Disaster Relief. They don't give anybody training. It's a very small fee. But as Steve described earlier, they chainsaw mud out and a lot of safety things that they teach, to get people up to speed. But it's usually a one-day event.
Right.
But they're all over and they're good at it, and there's no need to reinvent the wheel.
Right. And you've got local resources, because the emergency response system is structured so that you've got a federal response agency, you've got a state response agency, you've got a county response agency. There's an emergency operations center in every county.
Correct.
They are the ones that you can call. They have a whole structure set up. They can manage volunteers. They can provide some training for the CERT, like he was at, CERT and other stuff. So that's something to plug into.
Yeah.
Do you know Michelle Raven? Just out of curiosity. Just want to mention, she's an ex-military. She's actually just started a master's degree in disaster relief and emergency management. She worked with the military in that.
Okay.
And that's at CIU in Columbia.
Oh, okay.
So I probably want to chat with you a little bit afterwards about that.
If I can get her name or maybe phone.
Yeah.
We had a lady at the Citadel that called up and said, you know, she'd been doing response with the cadets and all, so I need to really tie her in too. That was a good resource. They figured out they could go in and get out of the house in 12 hours or something. It was, but she also had 18 to 22-year-old cadets that were in good shape compared to, so.
Do you have any written information on guidelines of what to do?
We do on the website right now. The website's down or been restricted a little bit, so we're going to start putting that stuff back. So go to that website,
Okay.
shrd.faith, and we'll have a lot of resources on there. As we develop them, we'll put it on there, and you're welcome to use those.
Okay.
And then if you have questions, call us and we can, you know, talk you through that. But the vision was, you know, we would respond to hurricanes. The problem was that nobody would show up and help because nobody knew what they were doing.
Well, a lot of people also,
They were busy, yeah.
I'm from Florida.
People
So
were
a lot of
working.
people were also busy taking care of
Yeah.
trying to get a tree off their house.
Right. Well, you know, if you have a storm in Florida, the people of South Carolina might be able to come down. But trying to get them to go down, I needed to train, I need to get the churches thinking about this and forming teams and training people and be willing to go, so.
Do you have a vision or a plan already about a massive disaster? Let's go back to Hurricane Hugo. I'm sure y'all got hit. That knocked out the county and part of South Carolina for months almost.
Correct.
And do you have some kind of working with the agencies that we've talked about?
Right,
How do
we-
you respond? I mean, you could have something really bad happen, volcano, or something, or earthquake.
We do want to work with the federal agency. We've worked with FEMA a little bit and some of the other agencies. So if we can establish the community centers, they can supply some of the supplies. So they can bring in water and food and diapers and stuff like that. There was a fellow in Conway that had those supplies. He had a big warehouse, and we're trying to tie in with him. So he got supplies from Costco or Walmart that were out of date or something. So he was getting some of that stuff. And, you know, instead of throwing it out, let's hold it and then use it for disaster relief. So there's a lot of stuff out there. We just need to work coordinating it.
Do you get invited to tabletops with the Emergency Operations Center?
I part of CERT in Charleston, so yes, I go to some of their emergency response tabletops, and I'm the liaison for one of the areas
I
in
worked in
Charleston.
the EOC in Fairfax County for
Okay,
years.
yeah. And so I've been in the one in Charleston and done some of their drills. I've responded to some of their drills also and done that through the CERT team. So yeah, that's good training. One of the things you want to do is, once you form a team, then you want to do something, because people want to do something. They say, well, let's go do something. And so one of the things that we have in our church is we're building a camp we've got some islands, and there's a lot of poor people there, and the houses, we've got 600 houses of poor people that are falling down. So we're building a camp so people can come in, stay there, and then work in the community. So our thought is to, you know, we can get some training by you know, bringing some people in, let them spend the night, you know, work on, you know, and work in the community. So if you have interest in the Diocese of South Carolina, let us know, and maybe we can set something up where we can help with that.
Another thing that helped us during Hurricane Michael in Northwest Florida was that we also partnered with the Roman Catholic Church across the street from us and the Presbyterian Church, and together, I mean, just Wes Jago is a priest, and he's here somewhere, and he's Marine, and he started it. I mean, the day after the hurricane,
Right.
and then all these other people came in. You would not believe how when you start reaching out. You know, but don't wait till that day.
Right.
You know, start, you know, finding out who those other people are now.
Conway, the people that had the list were the Baptists, and so we would get a list from them and whose house needed to be cleaned out. So if somebody had a house that was flooded, they would call and get on their list, and they'd check to make sure they didn't have insurance. There were some criteria. If you have your own insurance,
you weren't covered.
I don't think we ever took it that far. We were like hauling gas to the county.
So, yes.
Something else you might want to consider is the Anglican Relief and Development Fund. When there's a disaster, we will accept donations from anybody, and then we get in touch with Anglican congregations who maybe aren't in the thick of things, but they're near, close by, and that they can disseminate the funds as needed. So if you folks have a lot of churches that are trained, and so, you know, you might want to contact us to see if any of the funds can be funneled your way to help your emergency teams be boots on the ground for us.
You sent our church $15,000 and we were so grateful.
Yeah,
And we have been taking up money to send back to you.
Thanks.
We've contacted dioceses directly when we know that there's an emergency in that diocese. And they've either had a plan in place to use funds, or they've directed us to individual churches that are handling a particular event.
Yeah, we want to work with y'all, and you know, we can be the hands-on on the ground. And what I'm good at is, I went up to New Bern. The Diocese of the Carolinas wanted to go up there. They didn't have any experience, so they called me, and I said, I'll take that. So let's go up there. So we went up there, looked at their facility, and they said, we want to bring teams up. I said, well, how many bathrooms you got? They had like 4 bathrooms. I said, okay, you can hold 8 and 10, maybe 12 people. That's it. You have a kitchen. I said, yeah, we got a kitchen, and we're remodeling. We don't have a stove. I said, well, we need a stove. They said, well, we got one ordered at Lowe's, so we went to Lowe's and they couldn't find it. So I said, well, let's just buy one and we'll install it. And then when you get your other one, you can tear this one out and give it to somebody. So we bought a stove, took it back, I wired it in. So I said, okay, now y'all are ready to start bringing teams in. So, you know, that's what I'm good at. We got into New Bern, looked at everything, and then tried to get out, and the water was rising. It was all we could do to get out of there. We almost didn't get out of there. And then, it was another 2 weeks before it actually went down enough to where we could get into Conway.
Well, you know, everything.
This is Charleston County's website. If you scroll down, they've got CERT right down there. They've got the CERT program, so you can tackle them there, and then you can put in an application, stuff like that. And they've got also plans. That's it for the session. If you want to continue to talk, they move us next door to another room, and then we can, if you have questions, we can finish up. Give me a minute to get my computer off. Thank you.